Hello students, your instructor here, John Mandula with another screencast. This one is study guide for audio in the multimedia technologies class. So let's get right to it. Start off talking about sound. So analog versus digital. Analog. So sound actually is vinyl records and play analog sound, right? It's actual sound. The waveform's actually etched into the vinyl itself. It gets that real rich sound that audiophiles really enjoy. The problem is you get like the hissing and the ticking and other things like that. Digital sound, now it's the waves divided into bits, and the higher the sample rate, the better the sound quality. Your bit rate is a term used as well. Sound, of course, must be digitized for use in multimedia applications like TV, movies, video games, cell phones, things like that. So if we look at sampling here, you can see like that blue line, that's what an analog signal actually is like. Notice all the different variances in it, and different pitches and things like that. The red would be the digital sample. So what the red says is, this would be like a constant rate sample. It says, well, I'm not going to attempt to do every single nook and cranny of that sound because that would just make too large of a file, but I'll attempt to divide that into, equal pieces, let's say, and so it just goes up and finds that part of the curve. So as you can imagine, a digital sample is not as good as an analog sample of sound, of the same piece of sound. It might sound cleaner, there might be less like the hissing or the static that you hear in a record, but it's not going to be actually as good a quality of sound because it's compromising a lot. Some of those common sampling rates, 44.1 kilohertz, 48 kilohertz, and 96 kilohertz. You can see 44.1 for CDs, 48 for TV and DVDs, and then 96 and even 192 can be used for things like Blu-ray and HD DVDs. So when you can have larger storage devices that can store larger files, you can have sound that's sampled at a much better rate and get much better sound because of it. So here's another look at it. So again, this one, the black line is the raw analog sound. And you can see that the large pink line, that's the CD. So you can see it's compromising quite a bit. I mean, that nice smooth curve is just 4 big blocky steps. The DVD is much better than it, maybe 4 times better. But even still, it's guessing. It's stair-stepping that sound. It's just compromising it, averaging it out over the way. Audio file formats. So WAV stands for waveform audio. It's lossless. Large files, high quality sound. That's what's great about WAV. MP3 compressed, about 1/12 the size of a WAV, which is phenomenal when you really think about that. 1/12 the size of a file. That's why it's so popular with file sharing and MP3 players and cell phones and things like that. And a WMA, Windows Media Audio, is kind of like Microsoft's answer to the MP3. It's compressed as 1/3 the size of an MP3, although they would attest that the sound quality is consistent with the MP3. I may get cut off before this video is over, but let's keep going. More file formats. So AIFF, Audio Interchange File Format, developed by Apple, lossless, large files, professional quality. So Macs aren't just popular in the visual world, they're popular in the audio world as well. The AIFF, I'm sure, is a big part of that. AAC, so this is a really small file. It says better sound quality than MP3. It's similar bit rates. So the algorithms used to sample it down are just more advanced, at least in theory. It's the default audio for iPad, iPod, iTunes, and even PlayStation 3, which is interesting. So the hopes of AAC is to replace MP3, that it won't need to be around anymore. It remains to be seen if that will happen. MIDI, this one's interesting because it's a super small file size, even smaller than MP3. The reason is because it's a set of instructions and not entire waveforms. Popular early 90s, because it's small file size, people could actually email them or share them on sites. But when the MP3 came out, it just had such widespread adoption that the MIDI is nowhere near as popular nowadays.